What's up, everybody? Look who we have here. We have Tom Woolf from that Woolfies Royal podcast. And my friend has actually set up this hot chick episode for me. And why did you feel that the UK needed its own hot chick version of the show?
After listening to your previous episodes that you've done, I think it's important to highlight some of the issues that we face here in the UK. Not me particularly, but obviously the women in the hobby face, and showcase them, bring them to light, and put women in the spotlight. Really,
yeah, I figured the same thing. Here. Yeah. You guys got breeders out there that literally know more than most of the guys that I know out there. So I figured it'd be fun to bring them in and get their perspective as opposed to the American perspective, So I'm hoping that it's going to be fun. So,
absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people over here get your humor as well and get the satirical, ironic sort of vibe that it's meant to give off. So yeah, I think we've got a good bunch of ladies.
Okay, well, let's just bring them in and let's just see what's going on here. So let's give their audio a chance to catch up because StreamYard apparently didn't work with all of this.
Yeah, it was
so, all right, so we have Phoebe from Oblivion Reptiles. We have Angela from McBalls. And we have Sean from Eve's Temptations, Royal Pythons. And then we have Chloe from Axanthic Angel. What's up, ladies?
Have you missed one?
Yeah, we got one more. Hold on. Yeah, she actually logged out. All right, there we go. And we have Victoria from VGM Royals. What's up, guys?
Good.
Oh
no. I've been pressing buttons again.
Oh my God, for the love of Jesus. Okay. All right, there we go. Are you with us, Victoria?
With you, yes.
Oh.
Okay.
All right, well, we're just going to start with in the order of who I have on my screen. Phoebe, why don't you tell me or tell us about you and your company and how long you've been doing this?
I am the owner of Oblivion Reptiles. We started back in 2018, literally just as hobbyists, grabbing all sorts of animals. And we're moving into breeding just in this last year. So this will be my first season.
Okay. Have you had any clutches yet?
Not yet. We have had 2 successful pairings though.
Oh, okay. So you're the young gun here. Angela from McBalls. Tell us about you.
First of all, my accent, so I'm sorry if you can't understand me, but I'm Angela. I'm from McBalls here in sunny Scotland, and I've owned reptiles for about 5 years. I used to have aquatics more before that, but I moved obviously onto reptiles, and God knows how many snakes I have now.
Okay. And Sean from Eve's Temptation, tell us about you.
I started keeping royals in 2013, started breeding in the end of 2014, and Eve's Temptations Royal Pythons was created, I think, 2015. So I'm just continuing on.
So you've been doing this for 7 years already. Longer, actually. Okay. All right. Chloe.
So I'm Axanthic Angel. I specialise mainly in Axanthics. My family started out first back in 2005, and since then they stopped in 2012, and I've been going solo ever since. So I kind of inherited all of the knowledge and sort of carried on and went a bit haywire with it myself. And yeah, been going ever since. So yeah, it's about 10 years now.
Yeah, Jesus. Okay. And Victoria, obviously you got a billion fucking snakes. Tell us about you.
I'm obviously Victoria from VGM Royals. I've always had obviously royal pythons, always obviously been into animals and everything like that since I was little, really, always been brought up with them. I think I had a little classic when I was younger and just got pretty much addicted. I did start around 2013. I started getting a few females then, obviously growing them up for a couple of years until obviously I started breeding. I kind of took my time with it a little bit, really, and then just got really addicted, to be honest, and now I have loads.
Just a little bit, yeah. Now, a lot of people have in the past have talked shit about the women coming on this episode. Okay. What do you guys have to say to that? Like, has anybody gotten any hate for wanting to come on here?
No, I haven't had any, actually. No.
Everyone's always really supportive.
Yeah, and it seems like the women there think a little different than the women here think. You know, I mean, that's what we're here to talk about. What I want to bring up first is just the shitty show rules that you guys have there. Have all of you either gone to shows or vended shows in the past?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And how do you deal with the rules that are there? You know, like it's so ridiculous that if you're a business, you can't bring animals, but if you're a hobbyist, you can bring animals. You guys have some prejudice against spider and champagne and things like that. So what's your opinion on shows there? And I guess the initial question would be, first, have any of you ever been to a show in America?
I've not been to a show in America. I think the issue that we've got here with the IHS shows is that if you're a business, it's illegal to be selling the animals at the show. So it's just the hobbyists that are allowed to do it. If you've got all the branding, when the aunties are coming in and taking the photos, they're using those to sort of say that we're businesses and try and get the tax man involved and try and get us sort of shut down. So although it's annoying and it's not as nice as it is in America, I can see why they're saying it. But there's a lot more private shows now, which are invite only. So we are getting to sort of do the branding and have all that fun that you guys have.
So really, IHS is just following government rules. Is that the case?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not been shut down from an animal welfare aspect. It's all to do with business, essentially. It's all to do with money. So the antis that are getting involved, the Animal Protection Agency and the World Animal Protection Society, or whatever they're called, it's nothing to do with the animal welfare. There's vets on site at these shows that are more than happy that the animal welfare needs are being met and that there's no issue with that. The antis, they're trying to get it shut down. I don't know how the system works in the US with like pet shop licenses and things.
Right.
But over here, if you have a pet shop license, it allows you to sell pet shops on your premises. If you have a pet shop license and you are selling at the shows, you are then in breach of your own pet shop license, is the short story of it. And that's what they're trying to say is happening. They're trying to make everyone that's, you know, wearing logo T-shirts, they've got banners up, etc. They're trying to force every one of those and make them out to be a business when they're not. They're hobbyists. They're putting money in, they're spending money. Most of them aren't making profit. And that's what they're trying to get shut down. They're trying to say that they should be pet shop licensed and they're breaking their own terms.
But the hobbyists can't even wear their logo on a T-shirt or anything, right?
Nope.
No, nothing at all. Obviously, it's sort of, they do try and protect us in regards to, obviously, you're not able to wear a logo because a logo would potentially be seen as you being a business, when in fact, for the majority of people, well, everybody that goes to the shows, it's a bit of fun, a bit of enjoyment. Like, it really is literally just that. Like, it's nice to have a little name, a little hobby name, you know, to call your Instagram or something like that, to have a bit of fun. But unfortunately, the animal activists that go to the shows, I mean, I've had them come up and it's literally just like a checklist. It's they try and almost like poach you and try and get you to do something wrong. They come over. It's like when you get a mystery diner, you know, in a restaurant. They come over and it's just like textbook, like, do you have some business cards? You know, oh, I'm after a pet. They specifically ask for a pet and try and, you know, trick you into saying, yeah, you can have that as a pet, when in fact we aren't actually licensed to sell pets, you know, because we're hobbyists. We have to sell our animals to other breeders to breed. We can't sell obviously pets and things like that. But it does make it obviously difficult, but obviously the activists do try and manipulate things, which is the worst part of it. You know, we take animals in like a Braplast tub when we transport them and put them out on display. Now the activists will take photos of, we've had our displays taken photos of before and put up, and it's actually been in the newspaper, and obviously people don't understand, you know, the reptile side of things. You know, most people have, you know, a dog or a cat, you know, they don't understand why people would want a snake as a pet, or, you know, they don't understand that side of things sometimes. But the activists twist things. They take photos of our displays, as I was saying, and, you know, they'll say, oh, look at these enclosures, they're tiny. No, that's not the case at all. Like, that's not an enclosure. That's a small firm tub to keep that animal safe and secure in a locked display. It is display only, literally for a short show, and they're back home. You can tell these animals at the show are kept immaculate. You can see their pristine health. You know, you can tell an animal that's unwell. You can see that our animals are all beautifully kept. You know, you would see that in a body condition of an animal. If they are not kept well, they would show it. You know, you can see when obviously the vets walk around every day and at the shows and check all the animals, and welfare's, you know, paramount. But, you know, it does infuriate me, to be honest, that people try and manipulate that, and people that don't own snakes and other reptiles see that and think that's cruel.
Right.
Well, it would be if it was an enclosure full time, but in fact it's definitely not the case.
Right. Well, is there any difference between the IHS show and the invite only show?
Yeah.
I mean, does the invite only shows allow more freedom to wear your T-shirt, to fly a banner, and still bring animals?
Yeah, they actively encourage it.
Okay. But what's the attendance to one of these invite only shows versus the IHS show? It has to be a small percentage, right?
Probably about a fifth, maybe less.
Yeah.
Has
They've
anybody
only really just started. So we've had 2 shows now of the SWC show, and there's the first Balls to You show next weekend. So I think they're just gathering pace now with the IHS shows, the state that they are. I think we'll just see more of them. So it's early days, really.
Is Gavin running the Balls to You show?
He is indeed.
Okay. All right, good. The reason I bring that up is because I want people to know that these aren't just pretty girls here talking shit. They actually know what's going on with the whole hobby. What, as women, and obviously all hot women, right? Like, what's the problems that you run into with buyers out there? You know, do you get the whole typical, well, is your boyfriend or husband here? I'd rather talk to him about it. You know, you're just trying to show off your tits and ass to sell snakes. Like, what has been some of the problems that you've had with that? And we'll start with Angela, because I don't think Phoebe has actually vended the shows or sold animals yet, right?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so let's start that question for Angela.
I think with the whole kind of selling aspect, it's not been so bad, but in terms of like group forums or like in general kind of chats, people tend to take anybody else's advice over like a kind of woman. So I could give somebody a solid piece of advice, and then a guy could probably say the exact same thing, just worded slightly differently straight after me, and they'll comment and they'll know, like they'll agree with that person as opposed to what I've kind of said. So that's the only kind of thing that annoys me. But other than that, selling wise, I've not really had any kind of issues. So
okay, and Sean, what about you?
Actually, at the show last week, I was a bit gobsmacked, to be fair, because I haven't had too many issues. A guy came to my table. I was on a table right next to Tom, and I stood right behind my table. He pointed at one of my snakes that said price on application, and he looked at Tom and said, "How much?" When Tom was on the table next door. And I was just like, hello? And I was just absolutely gobsmacked. So I stood right there at my table with Tom at his table. But even if he thought we were together, why sort of go straight to him when I'm stood literally right in front of him?
Yeah.
So that was a bit odd. And I've had the, what's your best price on that? Go and check with your husband.
Oh.
You're like it's doubled.
I'm like, wow. Yeah.
Did you get the price though, or?
I ignored him, to be fair. I don't think I even responded to that one.
And Chloe, what about you? I mean, Chloe's been doing this for the longest. I'm curious as to.
It's the same as Sean, really. I've had it where I've taken the partner to the show, and yeah, they all go to him. I'm like, well, hello, it's my snakes. He doesn't know what genes they are. And it's just like, no, they're mine. And you know, what's more frustrating is, you know, so I take my partner or I'll take a friend with me to a show just so then I can get out and have a break. You know, it can be a long show. It's been a long day. I've spent all day setting up. I just want to go out and have a quick cigarette, for instance. In those 5 minutes that I'm not about, it can go to chaos because one, they all of a sudden they seem to swarm him. This was a fair few years ago now, but they were swarming him after I left, and it's just like, well, why? Like,
Right.
Why have you waited until the female is off the scene to then approach? You know, and that was very strange. I mean, it seems to have gotten better over the years, but again, at the same show that I, you know, last week, I had the same thing. It must have been the same dude. You know, he was asking my partner for prices, and he's just like, well, hello, I'm here. Like, these are my stakes. Yes, I am a female, but I do know what I'm on about. And I think it's just trying to portray that actually, you know, even though I am a woman, I know just as much as the men do. You know, I've been doing it for sometimes longer than them. And again, it seems like we just get a bit overlooked sometimes, especially on the forums. Saying what Angela said, someone will take a male's view straight away over a female's view, especially when it comes to sort of morph IDs and things like that. I've been working with Exanthic long enough now to kind of know if it is or not. However, the man that just said that the animal is Exanthic when it isn't has been his opinion is being taken over.
Right.
It's just one of those things, and it's trying to break that habit.
And Victoria, what about you?
Mainly at the shows, I've not really had anybody sort of avoid me and go to the other half, because obviously I have my animals, he has his animals. I've found it pretty all right at the shows. Everyone sort of comes to me, I have a good chat, and you know, talk to everybody really. I've not really, you know, had that experience, to be honest, at the shows. Online though, I have had, obviously I've posted the odd photo of a clutch or something, you know, on Facebook or Instagram just to show them off, and people have messaged the other half about my animals, asking for a price, and trying to make a deal with him on my animals. And that kind of gets to me, because it's, you know, it's bigger people in the hobby as well. It's almost like they feel like they don't want to come to me or something, you know, I'm not really sure. So that does get to me, because it's kind of like you're asking him the price. I'm sat next to him. Who do you think he's going to ask and try and get a price from? Me. You know, so that's probably the only sort of thing that does get me a little bit. It doesn't happen so much now, but you know, a few years back that did happen a fair few times actually. Yeah. But at the shows, like I say, fantastic really. Everyone sort of comes over, has a good natter, chin wag, you know, asking me for prices and everything like that. Not had an issue at all.
Okay. And Phoebe, as the young one here, what kind of issues are you having to deal with just with owning, reptiles so young? And are you getting any of the blowback of the males just looking at you and just being like, I'm not going to ex Phoebe because she's 21 and she's a woman. Have you gotten a lot of that?
Yeah, I've had a fair amount, to be fair. I think probably the main one, where I post on Instagram, I have got photos of myself on my reptile page, and more often than not, I will receive I'll get an inbox from someone saying, oh, is your partner okay with you posting like this? And it would just be a normal selfie. There's nothing, sexual about it or anything like that. And the other thing I get, reptile shops. If I ever have to pop into a reptile shop and I've got my partner with me, they automatically talk to him. It's like I don't exist. It's his animals, they're not mine.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of that happens here too. But what are those the things that piss you off the most about the hobby right now? Because the reason I'm asking is because it's sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes the reptile market is 90% men, right? I mean, there's maybe 10% females, that are big time into it like you guys are. But what would be the biggest issue that you have to deal with? And I'm gonna ask Angela that, because is it just that there's so many men in the hobby that's why they automatically go to other men to ask?
Yeah, I would say that's probably quite a good justification of it. I've done a lot of kind of male hobbies, if you like. I quite like cars. I like skydiving and stuff like that as well. So I'm used to that kind of setting. So that stuff doesn't really bother me so much. And I'm used to kind of fighting back that kind of patter and or banter, sorry. So I'm kind of used to that, but a lot of people aren't, especially if they're kind of new to the hobby. They maybe don't have the same kind of social network as maybe kind of you or I have. So I can see the kind of issue from that point of view, but I've not really kind of had the issue with that.
Okay. And Sean, what do you think about that? Do you think that it's just because there's so many men and not enough women? And do you think that we need more women in the hobby to kind of even out the scales? Or is it just like, common sense? If I'm standing behind the fucking table, you ask me the fucking price. You don't ask Tom two tables over.
There are a lot of more men in the hobby, and I get, like, when I was at a show and my husband came with me once again, they were all talking to him instead of me, which I get, it's the default setting, but when it is sort of like one-on-one talking or you're behind the table, it's just, you kind of wish that they'd have a little bit more respect then, but I mean, it's not the biggest problem in the hobby to me, but it's what it is, I guess.
Yeah. And Chloe, what about you?
Yeah, same really. I'm a bit like Angela. I've always enjoyed the more male hobbies. I'm really active. I'll get involved. I don't mind, paintballing, airsofting, and skydiving, scuba diving, the whole shebang. I'm not scared to get involved. But yeah, even during sort of like male other hobbies, it's usually the other way around. With other male hobbies, they'll like, whoa, there's a woman, right, with a gun. Ooh. So you kind of get that more attention, whereas it is the other way around in the reptile hobby. I don't know whether or not it is because it's, like Sean said, the default setting to it's a male hobby. But yeah, I'm hoping sooner or later it will sort of, we'll start being respected for what we are, and people will just go to whoever is behind the table rather than going to the man.
And Victoria?
Yeah, well, I think, it's pretty obvious when somebody's in front of you, that's the person you ask. I mean, personally, I wouldn't ignore a person that's directly there, even if I did think the other person, was the one whose animals they are. but maybe it's just a default setting, and that's what, you know, people are used to. You know, like there are, like you say, a lot more men in the hobby than there are women, and you know, with time maybe, you know, it'll get a bit sort of better once there's more of us. So
Phoebe, worst thing about being in this hobby?
To be honest, I'd like to say cleaning out the animals. But I mean, socially, God, I mean, my age plays a big part into it. I'm not taken seriously at all because of my age, and the fact that I'm a woman. But yeah, I think probably the worst part is the social media side of things. There's so much out there, especially in terms of education. There's a lot of people saying, you know, with racks, it's, you know, that's the worst thing in the world to keep royals in racks, things like that. And you just sort of receive hate from every single angle, no matter how much you do.
Do you find people are more willing to put that hate out there because you are female? Because I feel like a lot of things that get said wouldn't get said to a guy that was doing it.
Absolutely. I'm so sorry. I have to let someone in the house, so I'm just going to turn my camera
Yeah,
off.
go ahead. It's okay. Angela, worst thing about the hobby?
So one of the times, and this is just a wee story that it actually, like, it happened to me. So I don't invite anybody to my house at all. Nobody knows where I live. Anything that I get, I just send it to my mum's address. But one of the times, it was when I just started off in the hobby. So there was a banana pie that I really, really wanted to go and buy. And it was this guy who was in Stirling, which is like 30 minutes from me. So anyway, I was going to go over to his house and we were going to look at all the kind of snakes and just do the typical thing that it is amazing to get like part of the community and see everybody's collection, see their snakes and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, I didn't go. But the day after it, he was charged with double rape.
Oh.
And that's the kind of one of the scariest parts. And I don't think like it would have never have happened. Well, I say it would have never have happened to me, but I wouldn't have expected that kind of thing. And it's the safety for yourself. It's the safety for your animals. It's the safety for like health wise. So like respiratory and mites and stuff like that as well. So you need to obviously watch what you're doing, especially as a woman, but also as men as well. Like the same thing can happen to men. So that's the kind of wee scary story, or the biggest danger that I had kind of came across, but luckily didn't at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that you have to watch out for, especially when I've got someone coming over and I'm alone in the house.
Yeah.
You know, I've got to say, oh, he'll be home in a minute. Like, you know, you kind of have to feel that you've got those safety measures into place. Same as going over to someone's house for the first time. You do have to kind of think about that as a woman.
Right.
Yeah, I normally take somebody kind of with me, even if they know nothing about snakes. I'm like, you're just there to sit in the car. Sit in the car. If I shout or if I'm fighting, then please come and help.
Well, yeah, and you guys can't fucking have guns, right? So
no guns.
Shit. You go to Texas, everybody got a gun.
Be illegal. Probably all the bitching, if I'm quite honest with you. Online groups, I know I'm constantly talking about online groups, but I just feel like there's such a toxic place. And I kind of went through our stage and I've just deleted myself out of all of them. I think I'm only in the IHS Scotland one, and then one other kind of Royal Python Scotland page, and that's it. I've left the rest of them because I just can't be bothered with all the kind of picking at people for what kind of substrate they like or what kind of frozen rodents, where they get that from. It's just not worth it. And I feel like things like Instagram is a lot nicer because it's just pictures. You don't get any of that kind of argumentative side over it. So it's a lot nicer for me. So I think that's the kind of worst side of it, is the bitchiness, the arguing, all that kind of stuff.
All right. Sean, what do you think is the worst thing?
Yeah, I agree with Angela. I mean, we get like a bad rep, don't we, as women for being bitchy? But I mean, the men in the hobby, I mean, the biggest bitches going. I mean, we all have a bitch to our friends, don't we? You know, in a WhatsApp group or whatever, every now and again, if you're frustrated. But the level it goes to, especially on Facebook, I mean, a lot of the people in the hobby, their egos are just so fragile, and it's just bitching and, you know, jumping on bandwagons and hatred. And it's just like, that's not what it's about for me. It's for me, I'm one of the boring ones that actually enjoy the animals. And I'm happy with that. Do you know what I mean? I don't need all the drama, and it just brings you down sometimes. But I refuse to leave the groups because I'm like, oh, why should I leave? And then that's just me being stubborn then. But yeah, I think it's the bitchiness and the egos of some of the gentlemen in the hobby, I think.
Okay. Well, but probably if you women listened a little better, maybe that wouldn't be. Chloe, worst thing about the hobby?
Yeah, definitely the social media. 100%. It is so catty, honestly. Like you'd get a better show of of a soap opera. Like it is that dramatic sometimes. You'll have this group over here, this group over there, and then there'll be a click, and then everyone will fall out, and then yeah. So it's just, why can't we just all get along? I've been in it now for nearly a decade, and it's just getting to the point now where I really couldn't give a rat's ass, to be honest. I don't care. I just want to get along with everyone. And yeah, so like Sean, I'm still a bit stubborn. I don't see why I should leave all of the groups. So I'm in rival groups, if you like, or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll post on all of them if I want to. Usually it's the same picture posted literally in 7-8 groups, because I don't know who's falling out with who, and I can't keep on top of all the drama. So, and then I'll socialize with whoever sort of comes to me then, and then I can kind of talk about my hobby that way, rather than having to get into certain social cliques and upsetting anyone, or, getting pulled into the drama is the main one.
So another kind of challenge in the hobby is basically breeders not being held accountable for issues that they've maybe sold a dodgy animal, or something with respiratory, or something with mites kind of thing. A lot of them just get away with it. So people have maybe spent like £2,000, even £30, and they can't obviously get that money back. They just either get blocked, deleted, and all that kind of stuff. So it's trying to get people into the habit of, and I don't know, it sounds terrible, but holding them accountable for it. So last year I had bought it was a super centipede, and I absolutely love cinnamon. I've got more cinnamon than a Christmas market, but the animal was completely deformed. So it was a case of trying to chase this guy back for my money, because I was like, I don't want this, I'm sending it back to you. The courier was fine because it wasn't like respiratory or anything, it was just completely deformed. And it was a case of I had to threaten him with court action before he would actually give me the money back. And I feel like a lot more people need to be a bit braver and start threatening with that and going through that same kind of motion to actually get their money back, as opposed to just sitting there and being like, oh, that's me £500 down, that's me £800 down, £20 down, just because like a dodgy breeder. And I feel like that's a fight that people need to start having.
Okay. And Victoria?
I have two.
Okay.
My first one would be, obviously briefly, the clicky sort of side of it. I just think it's absolutely disgusting. Like, we're all producing these animals that we absolutely love, and we have that in common, and everybody just bitches, and it's just horrible. To be honest, I just keep myself out of the social media side. I enjoy the Instagram. I just want to show my snakes. I'm not into the groups and stuff. I tend to keep myself to myself, to be honest, and all I want to do is just produce some really pretty animals, and that's all I care about, to be honest. I'm not interested in, oh, he said this, she said. I just won't entertain it at all. The other thing is just, we're constantly under fire all the time. Like, I just feel like we're always fighting for a hobby constantly. Like, there's always something, some kind of worry, with the activists, the shows, potentially being stopped, all that sort of side of it. It's really, really awful. I lose sleep over it sometimes when there's something else, that gets said, or, we worry about whether we're going to get another IHS show, that sort of side of it. So when you absolutely love something, because someone can possibly, potentially take that away from you, your joy, for me, that's my main, someone taking your passion away. It's really hard to, think about that, really. It's really not great.
Well, in America, that we have a ton of clicks, right? Like there's a Georgia click, there's a Texas click, there's a, you know, if you're in one of those clicks, or if you're a fan of one of those clicks, do you find that it's like here in America, like, oh, he deals with the Texas people, I'm not going to talk to him? Like from outside people, if you're a member of one clique, do other cliques just hate you because you're part of that clique?
100%. It's so divisive on so many things. Yeah, I know you guys have got like the Cocoa Wars as well and things like that. Right. It's ridiculous. It's such petty shit sometimes. But I mean, another one that's like really causes like division and cattiness is like this people starting up Patreons.
Yeah.
Like the craziness that goes behind that, like because someone, you know, doesn't want to give up their time for free all the time, or someone can't keep up with giving up their time for free.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
For some people, this is a business, and it has to be run like that for it to be successful and for people to pay bills and put food on the table. So the amount of division from things like that, you know, if people started Patreon there, it looked upon like it's, you know, some sort of money making scheme that's just all about the money rather than anything else. And it's crazy. But it's such petty stuff. Well,
I just want to say to that, patreon.com/snakes and the fat man. What do you like? Have you guys gotten customers that were basically people just asking you questions on animals and wanting to buy from you because their intention was to get in your pants prior to talking to you? Have you guys got any of that here or over there in England?
I didn't have enough money to buy the animals, so I haven't messaged
yet. That's good. You know, for the first one, just pay full asking price. Okay. Well, once you get in there, then start asking for discounts. But the reality is that how many of your fans on Instagram or Facebook or have contacted you because you were hot and not because your knowledge of the animal played into anything that they were trying to do? And anyone could answer that question.
I'll answer this one. They all come to me.
Oh man, Tom, you're the worst guy to answer this, right? Go ahead.
He's muted now.
I'm fine. I will let the ladies take this one because I'm sure it happens more to them than it does me.
But like Phoebe, for instance, you're young and you're into the animals, right? How many messages do you get a day from random dudes that are just like, oh, I see you're into snakes. What else are you into?
Yeah, I've definitely heard that one before. It's not so much per day. I am quite lucky that I don't get daily messages like that, but I will get a couple a month, which they'll either message through my personal Instagram, which they'll find somehow, or they will message through the reptile one, essentially just wanting to know about me rather than my reptiles. I also get called, you know, sweetie, darling, hun, quite a lot, which I call people that. But I think sometimes when men are saying it to me, it's not necessarily degrading, but it's because, you know, you wouldn't say that to a man. You wouldn't turn around and be like, oh, you know, sweetie, are you okay? How are you doing? You know? So yeah, I don't get loads, but I do get a few, which usually I just ignore at this point. I used to try and reply, but there's no point. You won't get anywhere.
All right, hot stuff. That's enough. All right, let's move on. Victoria, you mentioned stalking before. What happened with that?
Stalking?
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah. It just seemed like there was a story behind that when you said it. No? Has anybody other than Phoebe gotten repeated messages from guys asking for a snake and then kind of taking it to a different level while you were talking to them, thinking that they were going to buy a snake?
I always find that it tends to be the people that you're actually normally friends with, or you talk kind of normal kind of conversation. It tends to just gradually escalate and escalate. It's not so much like a random like sale kind of comment, although they can pass comments. If, for example, I posted a picture, like a selfie with a snake, they would maybe pass a wee kind of comment, but normally I would just kind of brush that off. But it tends to be the people that I speak to quite a lot that then they'll start to escalate it quite a substantial amount, to the point where you could get pictures sent to you, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't say it was kind of normal.
The old dick pic thing, huh? All right.
So the picture that's going to be used to advertise the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time I'd done a sexy snake picture. So
Okay.
I thought, you know what? I'm going to put it on my Instagram, which is my reptile page, and see how it goes. It's still off of my Facebook at the moment, but once you say to advertise, then I'm going to put it up on my Facebook.
Mm.
And the response I got was, wow. And I've got a few snake people on there that I talk to regularly through Facebook. And the response was, I spilt my cornflakes this morning when I saw your picture. So, you know, that was a bit of a, oh, sorry, mate.
Well, what does that mean? I spilled my cornflakes.
As in, he really didn't expect that picture to come out.
Okay, but not that he rubbed one out and then.
No, not
okay,
right. I hope not. Anyway, I don't see it that way. But yeah.
I don't know the lingo out there. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So yeah, and I had a few where people that I talk to regularly on Facebook, they were like, "Whoa, that was a hot picture," and I'm like, "Oh, thank you," you know. But that was them being friendly. Now there was another side to that, and that was the people that had just like the messages were hot and fast on Instagram. Wow, you're hot. Wow, I can see you have a boyfriend, but would you like an affair? And I was like, no, come on, like. This is for the snakes only, and you know, it's the girl behind the snakes, and I had to really put a stop to that one straight away because and he did hound me quite a bit. It got to the point where I had to block him because I was like, look, you know, I have a boyfriend. You've done the research on me to know I have a boyfriend, and you're still going out of your way.
Right.
So
now, there's 5 women here. Have you ever gotten a dick pic and was like, oh, that's the guy for me? You know, I'm gonna fucking hook it up with that guy, and he's gonna get it all because he sent me a picture of his dick. I don't even know what he looks like, but like, has that ever worked in the history of women? Like, I think cavemen were fucking carving pictures of their dicks in cave walls, and fucking just women getting offended by it right off the bat. What's been your worst experience simply because you were a woman in this hobby that you had to, you know, go through? And I know a lot of the answers are probably going to be on social media, but in general, what was your first experience or worst experience? Let's start with Sean with that.
Oh, don't start with me. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've had what I would consider a really bad experience because I'm a woman. I've had really bad experiences because I've been a woman in other areas of my life. But I think because this is my hobby and this is sort of what I love doing, I feel I've got that bit more power to sort of stand up to any of that or just to ignore it. So it doesn't really have so much of an effect. Whereas obviously in the workplace, you know, you're stuck there, aren't you? So, you know, it's a bit different. So I don't know. I think it's just that sort of being sort of a bit more disregarded can be a little bit more hurtful. But yeah, I don't think I've been really sort of upset over it. You know.
All right, Angela, what about you?
I'm probably about the same as Shan, to be quite honest with you. I've never kind of felt bad in any kind of way, shape or form about that kind of thing. The only thing that I would maybe say is going back to what Chloe was talking about. So when I had taken the picture for like this podcast, I never post anything like that on my reptile Instagram, and there's a reason for that, mainly because of the comments or I don't want to be seen as not being taken seriously, or that's me just trying to get my likes. But last year there was almost like a trend, and I didn't particularly agree with it. It was good because women were promoting their own like bodies and all that kind of stuff, and I was all for that kind of like side of things. But if you are going on to like a kind of female reptile account and you're expecting to see reptiles and it's not what you're actually getting, you get into the stage where it's OnlyFans and all that kind of stuff, which is absolutely fine. I'm all for it. Like, they can empower themselves in any way, shape or form that they want. But it was getting to the stage where it was a picture of the woman and there was like a wee tiny bearded dragon like in the background somewhere as like an afterthought, and I'm like, what are you actually promoting? Are you promoting yourself, or are you promoting like the bearded dragon that's sitting on your backside? Like, there needs to be like a bit in between there. Like, that's the kind of part where I feel some of the women lose their respect, and it's not because of like who they are or what they're doing or anything like that. It's just there needs to be a fine line what kind of page you are or what you're trying to promote, essentially.
Well, also, the women talk about getting respect in the hobby, right? And I don't think that this is a hobby that you could just walk into and demand respect, right? But like, you have to do something in order for people to respect you. But like, should they respect you in normal everyday life? Yeah, of course they should. Okay, but as far as being in this business, like here, nobody's walking up to Tracy Barker, saying, you should do this or you should do that, because Tracy Barker has spent years earning the respect. Women like Corey Martin and Brittany Gobble are walking around reptile shows, and people know not to hit on them because they'll waste you right away in knowledge and everything else. So, I mean, I think that you have to earn the respect in order to, to get respect in this hobby, probably more so than, a lot of other things. But do any of you do reptiles full time? So everybody has day jobs?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's very few people doing reptiles full time in the UK. Standard, men and women.
I don't think there's many.
You can probably count on.
You can count on one hand.
One hand, maybe a few extra digits. Who's actually doing it full time? Yeah.
Okay. And do you think that because all of you guys, first of all, is the intention? Do you want to do reptiles full time? Phoebe's saying yes. Chloe's like, I don't give a fuck. What about the rest of you guys?
I feel as soon as you start putting it into work, then you'll start to lose interest in it a wee bit.
Well, Victoria, I mean, just from the look of your background, like how are you not doing this full time with that fucking many
projects? Got to do all my projects, and that's obviously my parents are obviously for myself, and obviously any surplus sort of thing are for sale. I can't keep everything. If I ever did, in the future, if I did go down that sort of route, I would never be able to rely on just snake sales alone. It's just not consistent. If the market's just not there at the moment, the market's just really slow at the moment. I just don't think that's something that you can rely on. You never know when you're going to sell one. I do think you'd have to sort of back it up with like maybe sell some, products, sort of like tongs or tubs or something else to sort of, balance it out, so you have got that stable income first.
Right. Oh, okay. And so, but everybody wants to grow their hobby, right? Like, is that fair to say? Like all the women here want to grow the hobby, right?
Yeah.
Do you find anything wrong with, taking a picture of your boobs with a snake on it, or taking a sexy picture to sell more animals? Is there anything wrong with that, or are you guys for that?
I'd do if it worked.
That's what I'm saying, right? Right. If it works, do you have any aversion to not doing it?
I couldn't, because I'm a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd get the sack if I got them out.
Okay, because here in America, it's kind of grown from, no, I'm not going to take a sexy picture until a sexy picture worked. And now half of the hobby is for it, half is adamantly against it, right? So if you had like let's ask Phoebe, you're basically just starting out, right? So if you're just starting out, are you gonna, do whatever works to sell an animal, or are you gonna just put a picture of the animal and hope that it sells?
The latter one. I don't want people to buy from me because of my looks. I want them to buy from me because they see me as a respected breeder and that they're going to get good quality.
Right, but can't you be fucking hot and a good breeder?
I mean, it in theory, yes, but I don't think you'll be respected if you flaunt your boobs or anything like that. I don't think you'll get as much respect. You might get more business, but there's not necessarily the respect that comes with that.
All right. And Victoria, what do you think?
Personally, I don't post photos of myself on like my Instagram, things like that. Obviously, I just love the animals and I love taking photos of those and posting those. I think when it comes to obviously higher end animals, the people that are buying that sort of animal I presume, aren't there to, see your boobs. I imagine they're just there to sort of see the animal and get something nice for a project. Obviously, there's maybe it would sell some stuff, but I mainly think that perhaps it would grow you sort of like your Instagram side of following on that sort of front. People like to see, gorgeous women with their boobs out and some snakes and stuff like that. It's quite sexy, isn't it, really? But I think it would get a following, definitely, absolutely. I think your followers would just go but purchase wise, I don't think people would, go out their way to buy from you just, for that, or maybe they would. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah, men, look, boobs are like bacon, okay? They just make everything better, okay? So if I guarantee you'll sell more snakes showing the boobs, but the respecting, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, you have to walk the line a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it should be so much, at the end of the day, people buy from the people, right? Because, I mean, let's face it, there's always another ball python, right? Like there's, you're never searching out the only ball python in the world with this particular amount of fucking genes, right? So let's say I saw a Pompeii that I was going to buy. Does everybody know what a Pompeii is? Okay.
Yep.
And Angela was selling one and Tom was selling one. I wouldn't even consider Tom. Okay. Even if Tom's was
misogynistic prick.
I absolutely wouldn't even consider, even if Tom's was $5,000 less, I wouldn't buy from Tom. Now, being that everybody's trying to grow their hobby, let's say that you do get 20,000 Instagram followers because you posted a boob shot with a snake. The law, the law of averages, you have more people looking at it now. You're opening up your sale for more potential people to buy it, right? So when you go after the numbers just because that opens up a potential customer to buy from you?
I think the scene in the UK is changing now, that there is more women breeding and more people are getting, more females are being more respected for the animals they're producing. I don't know what the progression is like in the US, but the market is still heavily dictated by like the boys club sort of thing. And it will be the same sort of guys and the same sort of cliques and groups that always, push those animals and will always have the same buyers spending money. In terms of like market, there is very little in terms of competition between the US market and the UK market. And those sort of people that are spending the money, they are very few and far between. And they those people that are spending money are very much of the old guard sort of thing that would probably look down on that sort of activity. And I think that's what dictates the market in the UK at the moment.
Who do you think the biggest female breeder in the UK is right now? And obviously, it is just an opinion question because, you know, everybody's answer might be different. But
full-time breeder, or
yeah, full-time breeder. Like who do you guys aspire to be?
I think there's only one full-time female breeder in the UK, and that's Ashley.
So.
That's Ashley. Yeah,
I think so.
Okay.
I believe so.
And do you guys have aspirations to get as big as Ashley, or are you guys happy with the progress that you have now?
I would absolutely love to get to the point similar to Ashley. I think that's an amazing accomplishment, and I mean, if it is able to be done part-time, that would be even better, just so that you have some other source of income, especially with the market today. It's definitely needed.
Right. Well, that was the next question I was going to ask is, in America, we're seeing a drop of paycheck ball pythons, right? Like if something costs $200 to $1,000, they're sitting for months and months now.
Yeah.
But the people who are breeding the $2,500 and $5,000 animal, they can't keep them in stock. It's flying off the shelf. Is it the same out there?
100%.
Okay.
I mean, from what I've seen is exactly what you said. Like those paycheck snakes, those run-of-the-mill sort of 400, 500 pound snakes. They're the ones that you used to sell. You know, if you produced 5 of those a month, you'd sell all 5 within the first week of advertising.
Right.
Now, I think you're finding, because of the way that the cost of living, energy bills and things going up, those people that would buy those snakes because they look pretty, they're not necessarily worried about the genetics or anything like that, or breeding plans. They aren't buying anymore because their money's drying up. And the guys that are spending that big money are either from across the pond, probably a US market, that are buying from over here because the prices are probably still considerably lower, or those guys that are buying those higher end animals know exactly where they're buying them from already. They know who's working those projects. They know who's working those genes, and that's how they're sort of sourcing their animals. And those people that are spending 5,000, £10,000 on the snake, the money issues aren't that big to them.
Well, what was the most expensive snake you've ever sold, Angela? Let's start with you.
I don't know, about 1,500.
Okay. Sean, what about you?
This season I've sold one for 6,000 and one for 8,000. They're both going to the States though. Couldn't get sales in this country for them.
Oh, okay. Chloe?
Same again, $4,000 went to the States.
And Victoria?
I think around 3. Yeah, around that.
Did it go to America also?
No, UK. Yeah.
Okay.
A couple sort of UK.
Okay. And Phoebe, what's the most expensive snake you bought to this point?
Goodness. I think probably around £800 for a banana pied.
Okay. And what's your exporting like there? Like, is it a pain in the ass to get a snake over to America?
That's
Not
a question
anymore.
for Tom.
Not anymore. You just talk to me.
Okay. Is everybody part of Morph Market here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And percentage of your sales that are on Morph Market versus locally, like at a show, what would you say, Chloe? What's your percentage of sales? What's the difference?
I don't really sell at the shows. Haven't really had any biters at the shows, but Morph Market, yeah, they'll fly out. But I also use Facebook a lot on the sly, sort of just posting pictures and a winky face. And yeah, so I'd say it's about 50 Facebook, 50 Morph Market, and the shows I just use as just to promote myself mainly.
Okay, like a networking thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about the rest of you? Angela, what's your percentage of sales morph market versus shows?
I'm normally, well, I don't really kind of sell at shows. It's mainly morph market. So, and it's normally kind of UK sellers. It's not so much like kind of overseas. I'm also kind of a wee bit wary of sending my animals over. I think I would be more worried about sending my animals over, like regardless of who was kind of shipping them. So I normally kind of knock back people if they do ask, which is my own kind of fault as well. But I don't know, it just worries me traveling them like that kind of far.
Okay. And Sean, what about you?
A lot of my sales are through Morph Market. I get a few through when I'm posting like new clutches on Instagram or Facebook. But generally, most of my stuff comes through Morph Market. I've vended 3 shows that you can sell at so far. And I think I've sold about either 7 or 8 across those 3 shows. So the bulk is generally Morph Market.
Are your shows out there normally 1 or 2 days?
One. We're not allowed to anymore. Animal welfare.
Oh, really? You can't have a 2-day show?
Not even Europe anymore. The Ham show, which was the biggest European show, that used to be a 2-day show. Yeah, that's now only a 1-day event.
So now everybody's done a show except for Phoebe, right?
I think I just haven't advertised.
Right, but you haven't vended at a show, right? What's the average cost out there to vend a show? Like, is the IHS show a place where you have to go get a hotel? You got to drive for 5 hours. You have to. Everybody's shaking their head.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So Phoebe, you'll drive 5 hours to an IHS show just to hang out with people and possibly buy something?
Yeah, absolutely. And the latest one I went to, I didn't book a hotel either, so it was 5 hours each way on the same day.
Oh, that's fucking a horror show. We have breeders here. Everybody's obviously heard of Tinley, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we have breeders in the Northeast drive all the way to Tinley, which is 17 hours.
17.
Okay. Bringing their animals, bringing all their, display shit. And one of my breeder friends came back with $200. Okay. So the show ended up costing them like $2,500 between traveling and hotels and all that. So for you guys that have to book hotels and, obviously, you can't go a day without eating. You have to go to restaurants and all that. What does it cost you to get to a show? And how much do you have to return from that show with in order to make it worth it? And anyone could answer that one.
Mainly sort of like obviously hotel cost, around sort of like 130-ish for a hotel. Obviously fuel costs, whatever that sort of costs on top. Obviously dinner out, 100 plus for dinner, some drinks as well on top of that. Obviously your table at the show, IHS shows around £50 now.
Wait, a table at a show?
Yeah,
a table at a show only costs $50?
Yeah.
Per table, yeah. So the IHS
table.
show have got like rules and limits on. So hobbyists can only have 3 tables maximum. So it will cost you £150 tops to vend at a show.
Jesus Christ, I'd suck a dick for $50 a table. Here it's like $400 a table.
Oh my God.
So Angela, what do you have to make at a show to make it worth it for you?
So I'm not so bad because when it was at Doncaster, it was a lot kind of closer. So it was only like a 3 kind of hour drive. So that would roughly be about like 100, 120, 150 quid on fuel. I would probably spend more eating than I would actually doing like fuel and all that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't have to stay over. I would be able to go back that night. So it would be a lot less for me than it would be for the girls that are like a lot kind of further down. So some people have maybe got like a 9-hour drive, whereas I've only got a 3-hour drive, and it's a lot more kind of achievable than what it would be for them.
Okay. What about you, Sean?
Well, to be honest, for me, I've I've only just recently started vending at the shows because I've never really had enough to make it worth it before. But I go for the social the night before and just for getting out and seeing everyone that I talk to on a regular basis. So if I don't sell anything, I'm okay with that because the snakes are paying for it anyway. It comes out of the snake fund. So it's just a bit of a network and jolly for me. So I wouldn't not go to the show because I'm not selling.
Okay. Chloe, what about you? What do you have to make it a show to make it worth it?
So I'm kind of like Sham. I don't really go there for selling. I'm there just to promote myself and there for the meeting up with other breeders. But I always make sure that I've already pre-sold. So everything's already, I'm sort of kind of just there to kind of drop off animals. And then
Right.
I'll have a few upstairs that are on display, or might have a couple to sell it there. But basically it's about £300 all in. So if I sell a snake before the show for £300, I'm happy. It's paid for my day.
Right. And Victoria, what about you?
I completely agree. Sort of, as long as it covers costs. So, you know, if I sell animals, that's fabulous to obviously cover what it cost me to actually go. But if I didn't have animals for sale, I still would do my tables and take things to show. I just love going to them. I really do enjoy obviously meeting people, even new people that come in, like potential customers like later on, things like that, and the you know, the chatty side of it is really nice. And I have twins, so it's nice to get a little escape.
Right.
Sometimes, so it's like a little getaway as well, you know, for the weekend. So I really enjoy it too. So that's my little thing. Like,
Man, we had a show that was 20 minutes from me. And I remember going to that show thinking, fuck this show. It's 20 minutes away. You know, I could be doing 10 other things while I'm driving to this fucking show. So I'm noticing you guys are really more, you guys just seem to be more about the animals here than the majority of breeders here. Because the majority of breeders here will say, if I don't make $5,000 a show, it's just not worth me driving, you know, 4 hours to it. I don't really see you guys as being I mean, 4 out of the 5 of you basically said, I just go to network. Actually, I think 5 out of 5 of you said you just go to network. But if you're just going to network, I mean, doesn't that kind of like hinder the growth of your particular hobby? Because there should be some kind of, you know, hey, I got to make this kind of mentality to it. Or is that's just okay with you guys? You guys are just like, I'm gonna go to a show to hang out. Like Phoebe, you know, like Phoebe actually just goes to shows to fucking hang out, right? And if you had to, Phoebe, would you rather buy an animal at a show, or would you rather just buy it on Morph Market?
As much as I love shows, I prefer Morph Market. Some of the shows have a lot of issues with mites. Some people can't control their mites and it can spread like a wildfire instantly. Whereas if you're buying from a private collection, your likelihood of bringing mites to your collection is a lot less. And I think at the last Doncaster show, there was actually a table that brought a snake with an RI, which is obviously a massive issue. So yeah, but I love going.
Right.
How packed it gets, going to see all of the different animals, because obviously it's not just snakes. Some people bring, you know, 20-foot Burmese pythons and things like this. So yeah, it's great, and it's one of the chances that we get to be able to go and meet up with all the people that we don't live near, that we've made friends with through this hobby.
I think as well, the show scene is so different, Chris. Like, you guys have so many shows a year, like all different organizations and all different people organizing the shows. At the peak, you know, IHS shows at the peak of 4 a year, so we get 1 a quarter.
Right.
They're talking about, you know, dropping that down to 2 shows a year, just because, you know, the antis have got in and it's increasingly more difficult for them to organize a venue to host.
Well, yeah. I mean, we have sometimes there's 13 shows going on in Texas on a weekend.
Yeah.
You know, and when we were coming up, you know, we would have 3 or 4 shows a year local. And now there's 12 shows a year local. And that affects everybody because now it eliminates the urgency to buy something, right? Like it just, you know, you could be like, oh, I don't have the money. I'll buy it next month when the show is here again. You know, so I think the fact that you only have 4 shows a year is a great thing for people that, you know, do want to sell the higher end stuff. Even if they're just selling paycheck snakes, like $1,000 day is better than $100 day, no matter how you cut it, you know? But what's the one change, and I'll ask this to everybody, what's the one change that you want to see in the hobby over the course of the next 5 years? Like, what would be the biggest change that you would want that you could say, man, that would really make a difference to me personally? Start off with Angela.
Instant mind blank. I don't know. I quite like the idea of different reptile shows around like the country. There isn't obviously anything up our way up in Scotland. There is an invertebrate show, but that's all we kind of have up here. So it would be good to have like a kind of Scottish representation up here, because there aren't as many Scottish breeders as there are obviously kind of English breeders. So it'd be nice to have like our own kind of wee show, if you like, to kind of promote us and put us out there a bit more.
Okay. What about you, Sean?
I agree with Angela about having more shows, especially private shows where we can have our banners and we can wear our t-shirts and try and get people back into coming to shows and buying at shows, having that sort of show and tell element as well. Because I think we're starting to see it, and that's sort of reignited my passion a bit.
All right, Chloe, what about you?
Yeah, same. More shows. We need more shows. It's just, you know, I'd like to do more of it. It just doesn't seem, and again, private shows. Bring back the spider. I have spider. I love it. You know, when you get all of the antis involved, when you get all of your government guidelines and things, it just restricts us. You know, you can't bring certain genes and things, and I just think just give us a bit more free reign. Do what we work, to do what we love, show what we love.
What about you, Victoria?
Mine again would be the same as the girls. More shows would be brilliant. I think we're getting there, obviously, with the private shows, you know, and having a bit more fun with it, and probably a bit more tight knit, you know, everybody else in the community sort of coming together a bit more when we do need to fight, you know, back against the antis. Because I find that a lot of us are quite quiet when it comes to that, and I think that's where we fall apart sometimes. You know, the more people that say something, the better for us.
Okay, Phoebe, what about you?
I completely agree with everything that's been said. The only other change I'd like to see is the social media side of things. The amount of hate needs to stop. It's, you know, you can't go on any group without seeing some sort of argument that's come out of, you know, absolutely nothing. Someone could post a picture of a rock and it will cause an argument.
Right. Well, I think
Chris, can I just jump in 1 minute?
Yeah,
I think one thing we need in the UK is just better representation from everything. We're massively under attack from government and, you know, animal rights activists and stuff, and we don't really have we have the group's called the FBH, the Federation of British Herpetologists. That's basically our version of USARC, but I would say that 90% of reptile keepers don't know who they are.
That's what I was going to ask. Is there some kind of USARC organization out there?
By definition, yes. By actual mission and what they're actually doing, not really. They're massively in the shadows. They don't advertise themselves or publicize themselves, and they are very much about keeping the government side of things happy rather than actually talking down and working out what the issues are with the people that are breeding the animals. So an organization like USARC would be massive for the UK to represent it on a bigger scale, fight the battles for us, but also just bigger representation from within the hobby itself to to show these people that, you know, these animal rights activists, that the ideas and the notions that they've got in their head of what, you know, we're all these, you know, guys with long beards, you know, tattoos all over our face and stuff, wearing black hoodies and, you know, biker boots and jeans and stuff. But that's completely not the case. It is a business. It can be a business, and it is something that is sustainable going forward.
Right. Yeah. No. We get a lot of government attacks here, you know, especially in Florida. But USARC really kind of is the you know, the group that steps in, and it would probably suck to be in an area like yours that doesn't have that, you know, that representation. Because I mean, how many animals that you want to keep are illegal to keep there now? But like, you know, do you guys have any restrictions on like retics or, you know, chondros, iguanas? Do you have any restrictions there?
There are some restrictions. Reticulated pythons, Burmese pythons, there's nothing on. So it's not like the Florida states and things where they've, you know, got restrictions on the big snakes. Iguanas and things, absolutely fine still. Chondros, absolutely fine. You do have DWA, so you have the Dangerous Wild Animals license over here. So if you do want to keep anything that's, you know, cobras, anything like that, vipers, etc., you do have to be licensed, and that has to be checked by, you know, your council, etc. I know that you're meant to have insurance for that, but a lot of the insurance companies now have pulled out insurance for DWA licensing, so they make it increasingly harder to get DWA animals in.
Okay. Now, does keeping ball pythons, for instance, have any licensing requirements out there?
Not as a hobbyist. If you're a breeder who's doing it for a living and a business, then you're meant to have a set of, so you have an AAL, which is an animal activities license, and they have a set boundary of, you know, what minimum enclosure sizes should be, etc., blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And they're tightening up those, and they're trying to make it harder and harder, and they're trying to impose those sort of cage sizes and enclosure sizes onto hobbyists as well.
Okay.
Effectively, they want to ban racking systems. I know it's happening in certain parts of Europe as well. That's already happened, where if you're a business, you can't breed in a rack. Okay. I think it's the way it's going. I think it's the way it's perceived over here in the UK and in Europe in general is vastly different to how people see it in the US.
Right. Well, and another big thing here is testing, is animal testing. So do you guys have facilities out there that would test your ball pythons for NIDO or for crypto or, you know, anything like that? And do you guys actually test?
So I'm in the veterinary industry, and so back probably about 7-8 years ago, it used to be that I had to send all the samples overseas. So it would be places like Germany. I think I've sent it over to the US for NIDO. But now it's becoming a lot more recognized, and yes, we can test for it. However, there are certain tests that are harder to test for. I know with things like NIDO, they actually want to do biopsies, so after the snake is dead, and it's not as accurate with the tracheal swabs and things like that. But they do test for it.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a couple of big labs that are testing for it now, which is positive to see. And it's like it's like a do-it-yourself at home test now. You order it all online, send it out to you, send the form back, and within sort of 5 to 7 days, you've got a culture swab or a swab straight back, and the results are at your email.
Okay. And what's your guys' opinion on the genetic testing, and is it even available out by you guys yet from more?
So I'm butting in here. We do have genetic testing available. It is the old style, which was started like Michigan Tech, wasn't it? I think. So we have lavender and lavender albino, and the pie test is available in the UK at the moment.
Yeah.
I know, obviously, you RGI, Benson, and Patrick have got the testing facilities, which there is chances of it coming over here. But I'm actually speaking to one of the business partners there to try and set up a site shipment, because now we have to send via all ball pythons, and now site is 2 index to send over to to Europe and into US as well, obviously. So we are trying to set something up to get that done as well.
Okay. And do you guys plan on using this?
I will be.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Depends on the animal.
What's that?
It depends on the animal. I mean, it's got to be worth it. If you've got like a normal POS het something, then even if it does prove out as a het, you're not going to make your money back on how much you spent testing it. So it would really depend on whether it's worth the outlay to know what that is, if you're going to keep it or sell it, for me.
Right. And what is it? I think it's $60.
$60 for the testing. So we'd have to buy the testing via Morph Market, and then pay for shipping costs. So you're looking at probably by the time you pay shipping costs, you're looking at about £100 a shed.
Right. And for an animal that you could only get $50 for wholesale, obviously, you know, that's not worth it. The obviously everybody here does ball pythons, but do you do anything else?
I do. Well, I've got some blood pythons. I've got Mexican black king snakes, and I've got a couple of different rat snakes as well. I'd like to get more. But mainly the royals for me, but I've got a few other bits that I really enjoy.
Okay. Angela, what about you?
Leopard geckos, and I will soon be going into crested geckos, but I need to learn a lot more before I can fully kind of dive into that. But mainly leopard geckos and royal pythons.
Right. Yeah, there was a show in Las Vegas here recently that one guy made 400 grand in crested geckos. Yeah.
It's mad.
And
I think ones are going crazy money.
well, they had some Korean buyers just lined up to spend 30 grand a gecko. So
wow.
That's definitely, I mean, that guy hit pay dirt in Vegas, you know. So well, you know, on that note, how could people get in touch with you? Let's start with Phoebe. And look, I don't mean fucking horny perverted dudes that want to send dick pics. Okay. I mean, if dudes are actually interested in what everybody had to say here, how could they get in touch with you, Phoebe?
The main method with me would be through Instagram at Oblivion Reptiles, but also all of my personal accounts, or I guess through Morph Market as well. I have got an account on there.
Okay. What about you, Victoria?
Same again, Morph Market, Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
Obviously at the shows when I go as well.
All right, Chloe?
Same again, Instagram, Facebook, and Morph Market. It's exanthic _angel.
Okay. Sean, what about you?
Yeah, exactly the same. Facebook, Instagram, Morph Market, East Temptations Royal Pythons, and I've also got East Temptations Creations as well, which is on Facebook and Instagram, which is my printing stuff.
Okay.
Like stuff like that.
And Angela, I just assume you're going to say the exact same thing that everybody else.
Yeah, but just type McBalls after it instead.
Okay. And Tom, how can they get in touch with you?
Woolfie Royals on Instagram, along with that Woolfie Royals podcast as well. I am on Facebook, but I use it sparingly nowadays, to be honest. I really keep Facebook for Messenger, to be completely honest.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only way I talk to you. So,
yeah, it's so much easier.
Well, ladies and Tom, thank you very much for hanging out with me for an hour and making me look cooler than I actually am. So I appreciate it. Does anybody want to close out with anything in particular?
No, just thank you for having us. Really appreciate you. And so really, thank you.
My pleasure. Okay.
Before we close out, Chris, I would like to say a massive thank you to you for everything that you have supported me with for the podcast, agreeing to come on and do the show as well, bringing the Hot Chicks episode to the UK. And yeah, thanks for everything since the start, since the inception of that Woolfie Royals podcast.
Yeah, you know how much it sucks to fucking spend an hour hanging out with hot chicks, right? Yeah, it's just the worst. I've had a miserable time. Guys, thank you very much. And this is going to air, I think, on the 25th, so we're good to go. So,
brilliant.
All right, guys, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, girls.
Bye.